Dear students, good evening. Welcome to Law Excellence IAS. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 24th May 2020. Before going into the discussion, let us look at an officer who brought in the change on the field. Mr. Sandeep Nanduri, he has started a cafe that is called Cafe Able in District Collector premises in Thoothukudi. What is the special about this cafe? All the people, the 12 people who are running this cafe are disabled. What is his idea of starting a special cafe run by the disabled people? So disabled people, they do not want to be dependent. They want to be independent, entrepreneurial, and stand on their own feet. So this is all about human dignity and self-respect. They do not want other people to see them with sympathy. They want the respect which they deserve, and they want to stand for themselves. So when this opportunity was given, resources are provided to them, they are able to showcase to all of us. So it means any human, if given an access to resources and opportunities, definitely there will be a change. So in this context, the Cafe Able is an example to us. How can we use this example, Cafe Able? So in our ethics, there is a sense, there is an empowerment. So do we need to provide freebies to the people, or shall we empower the people? Obviously, empowerment is the way forward, and the people want that for themselves. So Cafe Able can be an example for empowerment, where the state intervention of providing access to certain opportunities and resources can create wonders in their life. That is as simple as that. You have a small announcement. The online live general studies classes for 2021 have started, and the new batch is going to start from the Thursday onwards. Please enroll. For enrollments, please call this number 9052193939. So, online general studies live classes have started. Remember that this is an offline batch which is temporarily given to you online, not to waste the time. So NCERT classes is one which we are starting, and we will make you read all the NCERT textbooks before we take you into the classes. In that way, we can ensure that your foundation is strong. So please enroll for this if you are interested. Today, targeted news analysis, the articles which we are going to discuss are listed over here. The respective page numbers in Hyderabad and Bangalore edition are provided over here. The first article for discussion today is China suggests a shift in BRI approach amid debt concerns. So what is the context of this article? You know that China has initiated various infrastructure projects across various countries. It wants to connect the entire globe with China-centric infrastructure projects. So, many of the countries are suffering from the debt burden of these projects. You know the issue of Colombo port, where Sri Lanka is reeling in huge debt burden. Now, these people are supposed to pay back the debt burden, and these countries are not in a position because of the COVID-19 crisis. So they are asking for the postponement of the payment of the necessary installments for China. But what the China is looking at, that is the central theme of this particular article. To understand this article, you need to understand One Belt, One Road initiative very clearly, and we will see it now. This One Belt, One Road initiative, it is actually two projects. One is a maritime project, the other one is a road connectivity project. One is Silk Road Economic Belt, the second is Maritime Silk Road. The Maritime Silk Road connects the east coast of China with Southeast Asia, South Asia, and the eastern coast of Africa, and also up to the Mediterranean Sea. And the next is, you have Silk Road Economic Belt. It is starting in Shan and it is going up to the Europe. It is ending at Rotterdam in Netherlands and also Moscow. So Europe, Africa and Asia, these are getting connected by One Belt, One Road initiative. What is the size of this project? 65 countries are getting connected under this. The 65 countries. And then it covers over half of the population of the world, that is 4.4 billion population, and 30% of the global economy, and total investment needs are up to $5 trillion. So remember these particular statistics to take forward in this examination. Wherever the One Belt, One Road initiative discussion comes up, you need to talk about 65 countries, 50% of the population, 30% of the economy, investment is $5 trillion. You need to mention these facts to substantiate your answer. Now, in this scenario, what is the China plan? Rather than restructuring the debt, China wants to immediately complete the project. It is looking at convert the debt into equity. It means China wants to raise its share in that particular project and wants to finish off the project very quickly so that it can turn around that and can make money out of it. So that can create a win-win situation. So when China's equity is going to increase in a strategic project like Colombo Port Project, Hambantota Port Project, obviously the countries will be more worried. As of now, the countries are worrying only about debt burden, debt crisis. Now, the China's stakes in those projects, if they go, then obviously the strategic assets of a country are going into the Chinese hands. That would be the concern of these particular countries. The next article for discussion, it talks about extend loans without fear of 3 C's. In our mains answer, you need to talk about these 3 C's. What is these 3 C's? These are 3 institutions which seek accountability from public offices. One is an audit institution, that is CAG, vigilance institution CVC, and then investigative institution CBI. These 3 are put together are called 3 C's. Now, any of the government officer, before he makes a decision, he looks at these 3 C's. What are the chances tomorrow I can be found with some fault by these 3 C's? To what extent my career can be at risk? So in this context, one way accountability is enhanced by these 3 C's, and at the same time, the decision making is being killed or curtailed by these 3 C's. Here, the finance minister is assuring that please liberally offer the loans to the people. She announced the stimulus package. In that, what she said is 3 lakh crore, see carefully, 3 lakh crore rupees of non-collateral loans. It means you need not keep any guarantee, will be offered to MSMEs. And also, various other benefits or guarantees are also offered for non-banking finance companies and microfinance institutions. So, to offer these loans, these officers, bank managers will fear that tomorrow if any of these people do not pay the loan and if I do not follow the rules properly, my head will be hanged. There will be no finance minister then. Who will be hanged is me on the road. So that's why bankers fear to give loans without collateral. In this context, finance minister's words are reassuring. Right. How can we use this answer, this point? The fear of 3 C's is a major challenge for decision making in the government. The 3 C's are accountability institutions. Then how to balance accountability and autonomy of the officers over here? We have accountability challenge on one side and freedom of decision making another side. That is called autonomy challenge on the other side. How shall we balance? There is one case study that is called integrity pacts. You remember this word, though it is not covered in the article I am talking here. Remember integrity pact as a case study. So these 3 C's have proposed certain principles and procedures. If public sector companies, banks, etc., if they follow these procedures, we do not get involved with the day-to-day affairs of those banks or public sector undertakings, PSUs. So this integrity pact is one example for balancing accountability and autonomy. So the take-home points in this article are: what are 3Cs, why the officers fear 3Cs, and how to balance accountability and autonomy in the functioning of the public sector. The next article for discussion: Phase 1 trial of adenovirus COVID-19 vaccine found safe, induces immune response. So what is the context of this article? It says that we have a new vaccine which is undergoing trial. It was developed by Oxford University. Now, what is the efficacy of this particular vaccine? How it is being developed is discussed in this. What is the utility of reading this article to the exam? Anyhow, the syllabus connect is given over here. I am not going into that. What I want to say is the vaccine and its modalities of working and how it initiates or instigates our immune response, that we need to study over here. So how to develop a vaccine, the fundamentals of it, how it boosts the immune response, that is what is the point for prelims to us. In the mains, the biotechnological aspects of developing a vaccine like recombinant DNA technology, these can be used to answer. These can be asked as question. Now, let us see this. Randomized controlled trials, non-randomized controlled trials, there are two things. So the randomized controlled trials are better than non-randomized controlled trials. So what we are checking is at this juncture is non-randomized controlled trials data. So what are randomized and what are non-randomized is not required for this exam, just focus on this. So how the vaccine works, let's take, when you got infected with certain virus, let's take a common cold virus, then the body responds to that common cold. When the body responds, it means it releases immunoglobulins. It releases immunoglobulins or antibodies, I call it as. Right? Or T cells. These are called T cells which produce antibodies. That's another thing. So the T cells respond in return to a foreign body which enters in our body. So once that particular immune system fights that foreign body, certain cells of immune response, they become something called memory cells. It means they develop the protein of the body of that virus. These memory cells, whenever next time the same virus infects, they give accentuated response. Initially, if response is 10%, now as memory cells are there, immediately they recognize that they hit it with huge force. Let's take 100% or 100 times more force. Now, in the vaccine development, what all we are trying to create are these memory cells. It means that we will give the protein of the virus into the human body. Your question will be, when you give this protein, don't you think you are giving infection into the human body? See, we are recreating the virus. Only we are creating the protein, not the virulence of the virus. So in the gene of the virus, certain data or certain DNA will be coding for protein, which is its identity, and certain other is coding for its virulence. We cut down the virulence and we use the protein. Based on that protein, we induce that protein into our body. Once we induce that, we get the primary response to that particular protein, which is considered as a foreign body by our body. Then, tomorrow when the real virus attacks our body, as already memory cells are formed, then you can see a huge response from our immune system. Our immune system, which will attack that virus with a lot of enthusiasm and capacity. That is how this vaccine works. So in a nutshell, we are making the virus devirulent and inducing those proteins into our body to develop a primary response and memory cells. And tomorrow, when real virus attacks our body, then immediately an accentuated secondary response can be given by our body. This is the essence of working of virus. So with this, hope you understood this. The next article for discussion, that is, blood clots in the lung may be a major cause for COVID-19 deaths. So, what is the context of this article? The COVID-19, it worst affects the respiratory system. In the respiratory system, what happens? The blood has to go through the vessels, capillaries, and then carbon dioxide and oxygen has to be exchanged. Oxygen has to be given to the blood, and carbon dioxide has to be taken out in the alveoli, and then the levels of oxygenation has to be maintained. Now in this case, what is happening? They are closing this particular circulation of the blood in the blood vessels. This is what we call it as blood clot. Obviously, any clot, how we treat? Clot breakers. That is what heparin is, one such a clot breaker. We treat with heparin-like medicines. So, the blood clots are the reason for the death. So, in our exam, especially from the prelims perspective, how shall we understand this? COVID-19, which of the following systems of the body are affected? The most affected system is respiratory system, but all the other systems also can get affected because of the COVID-19, and the research is evolving in this particular area. The question can be asked in two ways. Which of the following systems may get affected with COVID-19? Respiratory system or nervous system, like the 2 or 3 they may give. Most of the times for these kind of infections, all of the above can be answered. On the other systems, there might be one or the other minor effect. Which of the system is most affected? Then answer is respiratory system. The next article for discussion is domicile rules for Jammu and Kashmir. What is the context? You know that previously Article 35A was there in the Constitution. And according to this Article 35A, there were permanent residents. These permanent residents alone can get the jobs in the government of Jammu and Kashmir. And there were many controversies surrounding it. You need not worry about that now. Now, this Article 35A and Article 370 are gone. In the place of the permanent residents, today we have domiciles. It means the people who are living over there, domicile. So the domicility rules were given by the government of India to the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. So what are these domicile rules and what is the opposition from Jammu and Kashmir and the local parties there? We have to see in this. So to understand this article, we need to understand who can be considered as domicile of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. They are one. Any person who is a resident of Jammu and Kashmir for how many years? 15 years. Or any child who has lived in Jammu and Kashmir, studied in Jammu and Kashmir for 7 years and took any of the exam between 10th to 12th class. And the third thing is any migrant who has registered with Relief and Rehabilitation Commissioner. And fourth is any central government employee who has worked in Jammu and Kashmir for 10 years, automatically has to be considered as domicile of that particular state. And then the refugees from West Pakistan, children of women who are married non-locals, they are also considered as domiciles. Let's take a Jammu and Kashmir woman marries in Punjab to a Punjab man. then the children of that woman who originally belongs to Jammu and Kashmir also will be considered as domiciles. So it means that the definition of domicile is very broad, and many of the people from outside Kashmir also can be considered as domiciles of the Kashmir today. So the group 4 jobs, especially in this, they are reserved only for the domiciles of Kashmir. It means all these categories can get the job. So the local parties say that as you have extended the definition of the domicile, now each and everyone are eligible to be considered as the domicile. Obviously, the opportunities for the local residents over here are getting diluted. That is the major objection. Second is removal of Article 35A and 370 from the Constitution is itself before the Supreme Court. So, how can you bring in domicile clause before the Supreme Court gives a judgment on this? That is the second question of these particular political parties. So in this article, remember, Constitution has made certain special provisions to certain regions. Why did the Constitution make that? Why did the Constitution has given these special privileges? Because of the historical context over there. So in this context, any kind of alienation can be possible if the government of India fails to create opportunities for the locals in Jammu and Kashmir. So keeping all this aside, these issues of domicility, etc., it is the primary responsibility of the state government and government of India to work together to increase the opportunities for the people of that particular state. Then only there can be peace in the state. The next article for discussion, why are India and Nepal fighting over Kala Pani? So this is a territorial dispute between India and Nepal. So the very vagueness in the definition of the border is the reason. You know that treaty that is called Sugali Treaty. Yesterday Geeta ma'am in her class has covered it very well. Anyhow, I will try to talk briefly about that and move on. Now, what are the questions that can be expected? India has territorial disputes with China, Pakistan, today with Nepal, and then with Bangladesh. So in this context, what are the areas which are in dispute with which country? That is one aspect. Second, in the mains, why India is unable to solve with the territorial disputes with all of its neighbors? What is its problem? And with every country it has a unique problem. Those particular problems and what has to be the strategy of India to solve these problems permanently? That can be the question for you. Now, let us see this particular topic in detail. So, there is a river which separates India and Nepal that is called Kali River. So, this Kali River, where it starts is the confusion. So, west of this Kali River is India. East of this Kali River is considered as the part of Nepal. This is what we call it as Sugauli Treaty. So, when the Sugauli Treaty was signed, the Sugauli Treaty was signed between Nepal and British East India Company in 1816. So again, this is the most important thing. Region east of the river is part of Nepal, west of the river is part of India as per Sugauli Treaty. Are we clear on to this? Now, then, where does this Kali River starts? India and Nepal have different opinions. India states that the Kala Pani as the origin of river Kali, and west of this Kala Pani obviously becomes part of India. And then Nepal claims that Limpiadura is the origin of the Kali River. Two places we remember was, one is Kala Pani and the next is Limpiadura. Please remember these two names as the origin of this. Now India is trying to build a highway that is Dara Chula Lepu Lake, and this highway is passing through this controversial region. Because of this, Nepal has objected to this And also it has stated that this particular Kalapani region is part of its sovereign territory, which India has naturally objected to. And second, this region is also very important to us. Why is it important? The Lipu Lake pass, which is there, it is over this region and it is very much important and strategic for India. The Lipu Lake pass. So through this Lipu Lake pass only, many of the Indian pilgrims visit Kailash Manasarovar. So, hope you understood this. In this, there are two prelims questions are given to explain you or to connect you to the outcomes of the exam. Recombinant DNA technology allows genes to be transferred between across different species of plants, from animals to plants, from microorganisms to higher organisms. So obviously from microorganisms to higher organisms is true. And the next is animals to plants to an extent true. Now, okay, better I don't explain this topic, this question to you. You answer and come out with this question because it was previous question, and you pose your doubts in the comment section so that we can clear all your doubts to you. And the next, which of the following statements are correct about the Kalapani area of dispute between India and Nepal? So Lipu Lake Pass is located. You know the answer. Treaty of Sugauli clearly settled the claims of the two countries over the area. Lack of clarity on the Treaty of Sugauli is the issue. Then you can find the right answer here. Finally, thank you very much and hope you have enjoyed your weekend. Gear up for tomorrow. Remember again, the success belongs to those who count their seconds, milliseconds, and puts those seconds and milliseconds to the right use. Gear up, boys, you can do wonders.